I'm David Cable with The Hollywood Reporter. Thank you all so much for being here. We've got a great panel starting with the co-showrunner writer, Oren Uziel. Executive producer, Phil Lord. And executive producer, Chris Miller. Star, Lamorne Morris. And star, Karen Rodriguez. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey. Hello.
Oren, I feel like this, you got to have a particular kind of mind to envision a show like this. So I wonder if you could start just by laying out, when this came to you, your vision for what Spider-Noir could be and kind of how you started to run with it.
This came to me 4 years ago from Phil and Chris, because I just checked my emails.
Am I under litigation?
No, but it came in. I was obviously a big fan of Spider-Man and the work that they had done in Spider-Man and Amy had done in Spider-Man. And it came in as a Spider-Noir project set in New York in the 30s. At the time, it was black and white. And I'm a huge noir junkie. And so I thought, this is actually something I can really work with. And my first question was, can I make Spider-Man a little older than he usually is? Because I relate less to a high school kid and more to a middle-aged.
Fair enough.
Not me.
Yeah, speak for yourself.
And so when they said, absolutely, that sounds actually great and interesting, and like follow your sort of passion there, it sort of took off from there.
So you guys knew your writer for this. Walk us through kind of the inception point.
We've worked with Oren over the years several times, starting with the very similar to Spider-Noir 22 Jump Street. And we got along really well, and he's really smart and really thoughtful, and we knew that he was a huge noir head. I also see Steve out there in the hi.
There we go.
Look at that.
What's up, dude? How you been, man? Family good?
No.
Okay, cool. Check the thermostat, make sure. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. There it is.
And so we knew.
Showrunner Steve
That's
Lightfoot
right. That's
in
right.
the
In
house
the
tonight. Yeah, give him a hand.
And so we knew, like, if this was a tricky one to tone-wise because noir often gets reduced to sort of tropes and pastiches and sort of like visual flair of like, oh, it's a Dutch lens and hard shadows. But what's cool about Oren is that he understands the underlying story thematics that are underneath what makes a noir, not just sort of a noir-looking commercial. And so he was our first person that we reached out to, and it was the right choice.
We go to Oren when we can't figure something out, and we like to do very bold and unusual and difficult things, and Oren does too. And he understands that like a great noir is about people in impossible situations. And who can't possibly dig themselves out. And that's what Chris and I were in until Oren came along.
So the idea of a middle-aged Spider-Noir is one thing. Nicolas Cage is his own creation entirely, and he just makes this role so perfectly his own. Given his history, I suppose we should say, with Spider-Verse and all that, like how did that enter the picture? And from there, did you guys kind of just let him run with it?
Well, he was obviously familiar with the character or a version of the character from working with Phil and Chris, and so he was pretty much the first person we went to. And when I sat down with him, he was just so well versed. He's been in movies, been a movie star for 40 years, so he just has his cinematic kind of encyclopedic understanding of the genre of noir, but also of superheroes, because he's also a huge fan of that. So he kind of understood everything that I wanted to do in terms of taking these two kind of impossible things and mashing them together. Mm-hmm. So he just got it right away. And then he also had so much to say about who this character could be and how to make it his own. He's Nick Cage. Like, he's not going to do the usual version of things. So it was a really good conversation between us for basically 2 years as we worked on it, of just how we can make this its own special thing.
Oren, you told me he had to take That's the greatest take I've ever heard of somebody playing a role like this.
Well, his idea was that when he gets like bitten, when what happens to him, he basically became more spider than man. Like the man disappeared and he became a spider to relearn how to be a human being. And it kind of informed everything we did. And it's so underneath it all, he is just trying to get by and keep that spider instinct suppressed. And one of the things he does is goes to the movies. So when he is giving you a lot of Bogart and a lot of Cagney and a lot of Peter Lorre, it's because he's experiencing that by sitting down and watching it and kind of retraining the human part of him. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's like I love watching it thinking that's a spider trying to be a person.
I do need to rewatch the episodes. Lamorne and Kata, obviously you're coming in. Lamorne, you're playing someone who has a long history in the comics, and Kata, you are not. So how are these roles presented to you? I'm curious how the script read. What can you say just kind of about getting into this project?
They stalked me for it. I mean, look, obviously. No, I just remember getting a call about it, and that was it. It was just a call in a meeting. I mean, a number of ways you can get a job, but this one was my preference. And do you want to? Yes, I want to. I'm not sure what it is, yes. But when they told me what it was and who it was involving, obviously I leapt at the opportunity to do it. And no, it's been a great process, up and, the entire time.
Up until when?
I was going to say up until the bullshit you just pulled outside. But no, I'm not talking about it right now. We said we weren't going to discuss it. We're not going to discuss. All right, I'm sorry about that. No, I remember a moment with Nick. We're sitting down. Now, in the beginning, they had only given me half the scripts. Right. And I remember sitting down with Nick, and we were talking about a scene we were doing. And he was informing me of something. He said, well, this will happen because of this in episode 7. And I looked at him with a blank stare like, I don't have that episode. and he goes, do you not have the episode? I said, they haven't given it to me yet. And he goes, well, come on, why not? And I remember going to Oren, and it was like, you don't have it yet? I said, no, my team, they said I can't have it. Everyone's so hush-hush around here that we couldn't have it. Now, the cool thing that I remember about that moment is that he basically recited almost every bit of dialogue back and forth between us, like verbatim, and it was wild to see. And that was the moment that I realized I was in the presence of someone who really, really knows what the F they're doing. And so the entire process has been great. It's been a blast.
And with Lamorne, it was when the character came into being, I was like, I hope this is Lamorne. It has to be Lamorne. But I also was like, I'm not used to getting what I want. Yeah. And then there you were.
I think it worked out.
Well, my story is very different. I did have to audition. No. I had to audition, and then about 4 months later, they came back and they said, "Can we see you tomorrow?" The 2 original scenes plus I think 3 or 4 more, and I was like, I'm about to leave to Mexico to do another job. Okay, yeah, totally. It's because when I first received the audition, the codename was Old Fashioned, but I saw that Lamorne was attached, Nick was attached, and so I did a little Google search, and it was like SPIDER-NOIR, and but I had just those 2 sides, and the character definitely leapt off the page for me. I very quickly, she reminded me of like the women I had grown up with, like women who love you really hard, but they are going to get you right, and but it's all done through love and a little bit of sass for sure. And so but I didn't really dare, like I didn't really allow myself to hope or dream. The callback came, it was a whirlwind. I met Oren and Harry, our pilot director, and it was just kismet. And the whole process has been like that. Like, it just has felt immediately like a family. And I remember once I met Nick, we did the table read, and I was really nervous. I was like, dude, I gotta deliver because I now I really want this job. Like, I'm here.
You crushed it, by the way. The table read, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, that's right. No, no, I appreciate that. It was such a whirlwind, but you know, Nick is a wholly individual artist, and I didn't really have to act very much. Like, he really kept me on my toes and informed the relationship. He's very easy to care about as a person. And then later on, like, you know, I was definitely curious about the three of us, and, you know, it was just really good casting. Like, Lamorne and I hit it off. He also keeps me on my toes. Like, he's so funny, and I just never know what's going to come out of his mouth. And it just was very thrilling to be in those scenes, and the writing was so alive. I don't know. It was just really one for the books.
Janet was the character that, when written, everyone was like, "Oh, we love Janet. Janet's gonna be so great. Who's gonna be Janet?" And then we couldn't. It was so hard to get someone who understood who Janet was, and then Karen just got it, and it was very, very special to get to. I mean, you were. It was such an amazing thing to get you and to have you do it. You brought her to life like no one else, I think, probably could on planet Earth. Like, it's amazing.
I just remember.
See what I'm talking about? You know, like, yeah.
I remember so many friends of mine who are actors going, yeah, I auditioned for the show, and it was always for the Janet role. Like a ton, like a lot.
Yeah.
Hitting me up. You mind putting a good, no? I can't do it.
The end result of this process is that we're at a dial test where we do this psychotic thing where 50 people watch it with their hand on a dial, and they turn it up when they're happy and they turn it down when they're sad. And like, we're doing pretty good, and then Karen shows up and they go, okay, and then we cut to something else. Okay, she's back, and I've never seen anything like it.
So I believe you guys saw one episode in black and white and one in color. Is that right? So all the episodes are going to be released, both black and white and color, choose your own adventure kind of viewing.
Yeah.
Which is so genius. I have seen both versions. They're both gorgeous.
Great.
Which I was, you know, you never know. I'm sure you guys were thinking a lot about that, though, like how to make sure that both formats worked on their own. So what were those conversations about how to do something that I don't believe has ever been done before?
It's like never been done before for a reason.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, they're both
It's hard.
Why do one insanely difficult like color timing job when you could do two? You know, and like and God bless Amazon for like understanding the value of that and investing in it, because all it is, the only way to do it is to have a lot of smart people work very hard for a lot of time.
Right. And when we were on set, the LUT that we were seeing on the monitors was black and white, and so we were always making sure that it was going to work in black and white. But we were capturing the color version also, but it was tuned to black and white. So there was a lot of work that had to be done to the color, and we had this idea that we wanted to make it feel like it was more of a processed sort of 3-strip / colorized vibe of something like what would have been of the era, which meant that every shot had to be bespoke, color timed, and which is slow and hard and difficult, but we didn't want it to feel like it was just some regular show. And so that's why both versions have a really interesting stylistic value on their own, and it's worth watching twice, guys.
And we like to push things really hard. We all talked about like let the sails out, like really go for it. And then usually you're used to the studio calling and being like, it's too dark. And then the studio calling like, it's not weird enough.
Go farther.
You didn't go hard enough. When we like dropped the phone.
Yeah, and it was a challenge because we were going hard, and then when you go that hard with some of those blues and some of those colors, the skin tones go nuts, and so there's so many windows. It's just so much work to make sure that everybody doesn't look like a pumpkin.
Yeah.
It was interesting performing that way too. I'd never been a part of anything like it when there were so many costume adjustments and placing you in different places based on, you know, background and what you're in front of, you know, which lapel we're going with today, which pen we're using. Does it pop in black and white? Does it not? It took a while for me to get used to that, but then obviously watching the show, I think for obvious reasons it worked. So the team, the set designers, costumers, everyone was on top of it, and I obviously the result is what it is.
We actually a couple of days to shoot early in July, and then we shot a few months later. But it was a chance to test everything, and every department had a camera with the 2 different LUTs to test everything. Because if you shoot in just black and white, it's like green lipstick. Because if you do red, it looks black. So, but Lamorne shot on one of those first days, and you walked into this hotel room set, and the walls are insane, and you were like, "Is this right?"
So this is a crack house? Where are we?
I was thinking about the dialogue too for the actors, because there's a real musicality to it, and again, a real like honoring of the era you guys are paying homage to. How did you sort of work with the scripts and play along those lines?
I mean, I feel like I gave myself a lot of, well, actually, Oren and Steve and Harry gave me a lot of freedom with it. I think there was, because the character was an original, she was more of the tradition of noir, Girl Friday, you know, I think, but she certainly is funny. So I think it was a lot of pace. And I definitely learned that pretty quickly. But I also, it was, again, me coming to the job was kind of whirlwind, so I definitely used myself, and I allowed myself to do that, because to me, when the feeling of Janet was, she was a very modern woman, and I thought that was such a special thing about her. Like, that's why she stays. That's why she loves Ben. That's why she loves her job. She's not just a secretary, she's the boss. That is her domain. And, so for me, the tempo of Janet was like, she is the boss, so she is holding the reins of that scene when she speaks. And I just and then I trusted Oren very much when I needed to, you know, kind of pick up the pace or something like that. But that was sort of my approach to that.
Repeat the question.
You got lost in my words.
Yeah, I was like this. Oh yeah.
How you played around with the
improvising?
how you played with the dialogue a little bit. The scripts are obviously very colorful.
You know, there was a interesting conversation I had with Oren and Steve about in our initial meeting. You know, about what cadence meant, and you know, I know Oren pulled from he's a lover of the noir genre, and some of those old films people speak a certain way. Even Nick, you know, his character watches movies to sound a certain way. And I remember watching Devil in a Blue Dress and kind of falling in love with it. I'd seen it obviously when I was much younger, but watching it and then falling in love with it, and falling in love with the Don Cheadle character, and Denzel's my favorite actor, but falling in love with the Don Cheadle character more specifically, in how loose he was. And I also remember a part of our conversation was kind of, you know, how Nick will be and how I'll play off of that friendship and trying to keep it loose. In the beginning, I was very intimidated by him, obviously. I mean, he has $100 million worth of cars. Like, that's enough to intimidate anybody. So I didn't want to say the wrong thing or speak the wrong way. I just remember going, I'm just going to do bits internally. And however it comes out, it comes out. Whatever Nick does, I'm going to listen and respond and do a bit. And internally, I kept thinking, make him laugh. And so, and I kept trying it. And it worked a few times. But for the most part, he's so solid and he's so straight. So I just kept thinking about that and not necessarily paying so much attention to the tone of my voice, and what came out is what came out. And I always check in. I always go, how does it feel? Like after take one, I go to Video Village and say, how does it feel? And as performers, we can make adjustments. I like to think pretty quickly, and you rehearse a million different ways. And so once everyone was on board, I just thought, okay, this is what I'm sticking with, you know.
And Karen said it well. Like she's a modern character, and those movies, I think part of what I love about them is that they're still play so modern. If you're watching The Thin Man, if you're watching His Girl Friday, it feels like those people you could bump into the grocery store. They don't feel old timey, so it's paced up, but it's very modern. Like you don't have to. I never used like lingo, and every time I tried to, it felt false and weird.
And also certain. Oh, good. Like my uncles, like my character smokes cigarettes. My character walks a certain way, and I have uncles who do as well, and they're old, and so I just remember the way they speak and the way they walk and talk. And when you walk a certain way, sometimes vocally things come out the way they come out. You know what I mean? Sometimes they don't match. If you walk, like if you're smooth like Malcolm X and what comes out is Steve Urkel, it don't make sense. You know what I mean? So you gotta have to make it. You have to figure it out. Yeah.
I also thought, and I'm speaking selfishly about the trio of friends here, they're very intelligent people and they like to one-up each other. And there's a familiarity. Like I thought the language, the pace, it built relationship very quickly. These are people that have known each other for a long time and they just needle each other because they're so smart in their own very distinctive ways. And I thought that also was a really useful thing about that speed of thought, because it's what Lamorne was saying. It's like we're trying to make each other laugh, but we have a task at hand, and they just are that fast thinkers because they're very smart and they're friends. So I don't know.
Yeah, all three are both collectively and kind of on their own on the case, as it were. I mean, that's really the pulse of the series. I wonder how you all talked about kind of the world, building out the world, the narrative possibilities, because it is so imaginative, and you are in some ways like starting from scratch.
Well, that's where the collision, I think, of the comic book world and the noir world comes into play. Is that there's this like extraordinarily deep bench of characters and canon, and then because of the Spider-Verse that these guys made, it sort of opens it up to taking any of that, slamming it into this world and saying, what's a version of it? One of the mantras on the show was like, what if you made a Bogart movie where Bogart just happened to be Spider-Man? And so it's like, what if it's the Big Sleep and it's a Spider-Man character and there's all these Spider-Man villains, and it's just it becomes a huge world that you can play in, and then it's finding what the sandbox, that's the sandbox, and like what's the 8-episode path that makes one good story of someone comes and knocks on the door and the case starts, and at the end of the series the case is concluded.
What can you guys say about what this world offered in terms of how you could build it out, what you're excited to explore?
Well, to me, the exciting thing about the genre and the thing that I like about being able to work with these characters, is that they really are grounded in like a deep emotional thing. It's always about the emotional dilemma that these characters are in. They can never be like a superhero can never be like the superhero alter ego can never be happy, and the person inside, they can't be happy at the same time. And so that to me is like an essential thing about a noir, is that like they are like that you cannot get it all. Right. And so the thing that I loved about Oren's original pitch was like, what if like the worst thing that could happen to Ben is that he could fall in love and he could care. Yeah. Fuck. And so that to me was like the animating idea of the whole thing, was that the guy's dilemma is that now he fucking cares, and now he has to like strap the boots back on and figure, and get hurt again.
That's what it is. He cares, but he knows it's going to work out.
He knows it's going to suck.
So that's also like a Bogey thing, where he would always say, pretend he was detached, but always you knew that he cared. And
that's why I'm single.
There you go.
I don't want to care.
You don't want to care?
I don't want to love again.
I know. It is tough.
Yeah.
It is tough. And it's fun to think of like what's the 30s version of this villain and that villain and this character and that character and all the whiz bang fun stuff, but really it is an emotional story, and superhero stories are sort of operatic versions of like relatable emotional themes that that we all go through just heightened to an absurd level. And I think that's the same thing is true about noir, which is why I think these two genres actually meld together perfectly.
The camera work on this show is really interesting. I imagine it was fun to work with as the actors. How did you decide like how far to push it visually and how, to the earlier point, how weird to get along those lines?
Oh, it gets so weird later in the season.
I can't
like
wait.
Stuff is pretty tame compared to where it goes. It was like a treat for all these. Every director in town wanted to do the show because you're like, when else can I shoot a noir with this cast
in Los Angeles?
In Los Angeles, we shot in LA. Everybody.
Yeah.
It's like the dream job.
I mean, it's so romantic to be on all those backlots, but where they shot a lot of these old things. But we've talked a lot too about like, what if Greg Tolan had the modern tools that we have? Like, what would he be able to do? So there was that. It was just pushing things and pushing and pushing and pushing as much as you can, while still again remembering that we're telling a grounded story. So as long as you weren't losing sight of the characters and the emotion, everybody had free reign. Like I talked a lot about unmotivated light on the show, where I was like, I don't care where that light is coming from. Like, look at these old noirs. Like, look at the shadows they're casting. How does that reflect on the story that we're telling? And worry about the rest later.
Yeah, and don't be uptight about one thing we've learned on the Spider-Verse movies is don't be uptight about continuity. If the emotional continuity is there, you don't care if like it's blue in one shot and then you cut away and you cut back and now it's green. The fact that like, yeah, you don't have to be consistent. It's about like painting.
Yeah, we looked at Lady from Shanghai early on, and it's Orson Welles would be hanging on the side of the stagecoach, and he's just covered in shadow, and then you cut inside, and Rita Hayworth is like bathed in this angelic light that makes no sense that it's there, but it's just the storytelling.
And it looks great.
It's amazing.
For the actors, how did you kind of find working within the visual parameters of the show, the way the cameras were moving?
My job stayed the same, just perform. I mean, it really did. I've worked in some weird shoots before, with some weird camera work, but this one was interesting. I remember a moment where Harry Bradbeer was talking to Nick, and he wanted to do a particular shot, and he said, "We're going to have the camera." We're at I think it's his first episode actually, when my character's introduced. And he's bringing the camera low. And he just said, I want to do this particular shot. So just whatever you feel in this moment, react to it. And Nick just recalled an old film from like the 40s or 50s or something. He just, I'm making up the name, but he said, oh, so like a Rooney 44. Okay, great. Yeah, I got it. And then if you watch the shot, I think it was beautiful. And his performance was so subtle, but it said everything in his eyes. And for me, that was just like it was more homework for me to watch that moment. Where he did make an adjustment based on the camera movement and also based on his recall from old films. And for me, again, it's trial and error. I'll play it. I'll play it real and then play it as honest as possible. And then I'll go to Video Village. What do you think? Did I do the thing that you wanted me to do? So yeah, it was very, it wasn't tough. It wasn't tough.
Also, it's a good Nick impression, by the way.
It's very good.
Yeah, you pulled that out.
Yeah.
I may need you for some ADR.
Yeah, I mean, same. I think the experience on set was like I was doing my job, and I would notice sometimes the camera was maybe below and worried about my double chin or something. But but it was below, and you could feel that it was maybe off kilter or something like that. But really, it was about playing the scene. And what was very interesting is that when I watched the episodes, you see why that genre is so evocative, because it's really for the viewer. Like that lighting, those shots, it's visual storytelling in a way that it's noir for a reason. And I noticed a lot of Janet was like my first shot is like, there's like this like angelic light bearing down on me, and I'm just reading the magazine. And I thought, I'm an angel. What the fuck, you know? And so, like,
Rita Hayworth.
but again, that, but I wasn't thinking that, and I wasn't playing that. But it's just an elevation, and it's for the viewer to have that visual language and experience it in that way. It's really powerful, especially that we weren't aware. I mean, I wasn't aware, and then you watch it, and it just elevates everything. It's really powerful.
Well, May 27th, you can experience it all kinds of ways, black and white, color, streaming on Prime. Thank you all so much, and thank you all for coming out tonight.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
guys
coming out, everybody.
Watching.